Welcome to Brew Crime, the podcast where we drink brews, talk crime, conspiracies, or whatever catches our attention. This is Mike and my co-host.
The harbinger of bad news,
Yes. And he is
also
back.
known as JT.
Jay Tizzle.
Yes. Hello, sir.
Hello, hello.
I missed you on the last one.
Yes, you no longer look like Jennifer.
No, I don't. You're right. You're right. I looked a lot better the last time.
Just
Um,
different.
and I had a
Just
lot of cool
different.
things behind me. And now I really traded down. You traded down, man. You traded down.
Traded sideways.
With a slight decline both
Ah,
ways.
come on now. Ay, ay, ay.
Oh man.
Well, we're getting back to the theme of bullying. Did want to just
Yeah.
quickly shout out a lot of podcasts and anyone that uses Patreon got an email from Patreon very recently. And a little bit later this year, Apple is forcing Patreon and everyone to use their marketplace, which means that Apple will be taking 30% of all revenue going to Patreon. So if you support us on Patreon, it'd be amazing if you could move the subscription off of your Apple app, the Patreon app on Apple, and just use a browser, or if you're on Android, doesn't matter. But yeah, because
Yeah.
Apple doesn't deserve 30%.
No.
We already
No.
lose a small cut to Patreon, not a big cut. It's pretty amazing,
Yeah.
but yeah, 30% is huge.
I have a feeling that Patreon's ending up gonna have to increase their own cut because people are, yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens.
who knows?
Apple has a habit of making changes that then have a domino effect, and they are like, we don't know how this happened. Oh my gosh, what is going on? And it's just like, dude, you flipped a switch like 3 months ago, and here
Yeah.
we are.
Why don't people
Yeah.
like us anymore? Who knows? It's almost like
I don't know.
they're bullying.
Oh,
Oh, look what I did
segues are weird. No. Yeah, man. Uh, this was a toughie. And for a couple of reasons. One, like obviously I personally have experience with bullying, but two, like it's just hard, you know? The case that I'm covering is Megan Meier, and I have a solid feeling. My very first sentence that I wrote here is I just have a solid feeling this is going to be a back in my day episode for me.
Uh-oh.
I
PTSD.
yeah, right. Yeah. I truly don't wish to go back to simpler times, but in this case, I do. And in this case, I'm heartbroken for the people who are impacted by the topic of our theme the past couple of
Yeah.
weeks. And while your case was back in the 90s, if I
Yep.
remember you right,
Yeah.
mine takes place during the era of social media and the
Ugh.
beginning era. It's not just any time, though. The year was 2006. And 3 years prior, MySpace was founded by our good buddy Tom, more specifically Tom Anderson and Chris DeWolf. And Tom was everybody's friend. He got around.
Yeah, you didn't have a choice. I'm
Nope.
so happy that I grew up in an era where there was no social media really. There was a time, it was a little bit, but it wasn't prevalent. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
No one had cell phones until like
Right.
middle of high school.
So like '03 was the beginning of MySpace. A year later, Facebook started up, but it was very localized. March 2006, Twitter was created. So while social media did not even become a thing, did I have a MySpace? Sure.
Yeah, same. I had a
Did
Friendster
it
as
matter?
well.
No. Right. And as I aged up and out of college and stuff, then Facebook opened itself to the world, its big old legs open wide. Um,
And the world got worse for it.
Yep, sure did. And in '06, the same year of Megan Meyer's tragic death, yeah, like I said, Twitter was created. Now, we are talking about the heyday of social media sites. And by that, I mean they've been created. They're seeing an unprecedented increased number of users, and we have no fucking idea what kind of impact's going to have, right?
I
Um,
mean, bad.
yeah, bad, right. But in addition, I think the world's always known that bullying is an issue. For one, There's a researcher from Korea who mentioned that the first significant journal article about bullying among young people was published in 1897.
Holy
Um,
shit.
yep. And the difficult part about social media is, of course, back in elementary, middle, high, bullying has always been in the school, on the field, really wherever bullies exist, which is
Yeah.
everywhere. But the good news, if there is any good news to be had, is that typically the bullied's home was a refuge and you could escape, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Unless they were unlucky to have bad parents.
Correct, correct. Now, only, now there is no escape. Now cyberbullying follows you wherever you go. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter. It's gonna be there, right? Trollers gonna troll, haters gonna hate. Back in high school, I told you back in my day, back in high school, MySpace was a way of communicating, kind of AOL chat, but it wasn't the main way, right? We were still using T9 texting. Um, Now
T9 texting. What is that?
T9 was when you had to hit the buttons multiple times to get certain letters.
Oh, okay. What were those
The old Nokia.
those graphic calculators called again?
Oh man,
Oh,
the
TI
cat.
83s, weren't
Yeah,
they?
TI
Oh, never
83s.
mind. Okay.
They were like
I was like,
125 bucks, and now they're like 30. Gross. That so I
I gave
can't
mine away.
Yeah, right. I can't imagine going through what I did with a layer of social media on top of it all. And that frustrates the hell out of me for kids today, including my own.
Mm.
I have no, like, yes, I spent a good chunk of my time with social media, but I have no idea how they're going to navigate this other than me saying, no, don't.
Yeah.
Lori Zillinger, who's a child and school psychologist, seems to agree with this. And she says that the internet was intensifying pressures on adolescents. They were particularly susceptible to peer pressure and peer acceptance as part of becoming independent. And she goes, we know that kids are so desperate to be accepted that they will violate their own rules. They need to experience affiliation, and a sense of belonging will lead children to engage in behaviors that are counter to family values and even their own sense of conscience. Before the internet, all of this happened in school hours. They would pass notes in class, have sorts of sign language, use the telephone when they reach home. Now, neighborhoods are more spread out. People are living in large homes. Children tend to maintain contact through the internet and text messaging. They can have this contact 24/7. It's magnifying an issue that always existed.
100%.
In terms of cyberbullying, here's a few. I was able to pull some statistics from 2024. And I think it's, me, I like to give context. And these are 2024 cyberbullying statistics presented with minimal context and provided by Josh Howarth of explodingtopics.com. 64% of American young adults 18 to 29 have experienced cyberbullying. Middle school aged cyberbullying victims are almost twice as likely to attempt suicide than non-victims. 41% of US adults have experienced some form of online harassment. The number of Americans experiencing physical threats and sexual harassment online has doubled since 2014.
Jesus.
And 75% of cyberbullying targets were harassed on Facebook.
That actually surprises me. Yeah. I thought
So,
Facebook would be one of the higher ones, truthfully.
yeah.
I guess because younger people don't use Facebook anymore.
It's true. Yeah, that is very true. So what else do we know? Around 1 in 4, or 23% of middle and high school students have been cyberbullied in the past 30 days. 92% of Americans think cyberbullying is a problem. 55% say it's a major problem. 37% say it's a minor problem. 76% of global adults believe anti-cyberbullying efforts are ineffective. 79% of US adults don't think social media companies do a good job. And 4 out of 5 Americans want more laws to address cyberbullying.
But then they
Now-
all want to evoke their whatever, the Second Amendment right to freedom of speech,
First,
first, I don't know. Oh,
second
yeah.
wouldn't surprise me though, because that's the right to bear arms. So
That's right. I don't know.
you're not
America.
supposed to. I think you're all right. All right, specific to school, and this was 100% heartbreaking to me. Middle school age cyberbullying victims are approximately, like I said, 2 times more likely to attempt suicide. 25% of LGBTQ high school students who were bullied attempted suicide at least once in the past year.
That's
42% of LGBTQ youth reported being cyberbullied over the past year. Female teenagers are almost 3 times as likely to experience cyberbullying than male teenagers. 23% of middle and high school students have been cyberbullied over the past 30 days. 16% of middle and high school students admit to having cyberbullied other students. 12% of US parents say their child experiences cyberbullying on a regular basis. Most cyberbullying in schools is done by the victim's classmates, and the most common platform for cyberbullying is why did I write social media? I think it's just saying that that's the platform that
Yeah.
people do it within.
Well, it could
So
have
it
just been through
bad.
like straight text messaging. Um, what are they like? Oh, I'm going blank because I don't use any other kind of chat software anymore.
Like WhatsApp and stuff.
WhatsApp and all those. Probably also a lot of that as well.
I'm sure. I mean, the thing about WhatsApp and the thing about like texting and stuff is it's not public unless it's a group, and
Hmm.
you can always hit block, right?
Yeah, but people
Um,
can spoof and make new accounts, and
yeah, yeah.
people are pretty good at that shit these days, unfortunately.
It's insane, and gross. Like you're willing to go
Hmm.
that far, but here we are. So now that I've hit you with that, let's talk a little bit about Megan Meier. She was born November 6th, 1992, to Tina Meyer and Ronald Meyer in O'Fallon, Missouri. Not Jimmy O'Fallon,
And not
Missouri,
misery.
and not yeah, Missouri. So from third grade in 2001 to 2002, after she told her mom she wanted to kill herself, Megan was under care of a psychiatrist. She was
Oh my
9 or
god.
10. She was prescribed citalopram, which is an antidepressant that also has a possible side effect of increasing suicide risk in young people, methylphenidate, and an antipsychotic ziprasidone. Um, she ended up being diagnosed with ADD, depression, and self-esteem issues regarding her weight. Um, Her parents saw the wonderful, as they do, as parents are hopefully want to do, in Megan. They described her as bubbly and goofy and someone who enjoyed spending time with her friends and family. She attended Fort Zumwalt public schools, including Pheasant Point Elementary School and Fort Zumwalt West Middle School in O'Fallon. And she befriended the popular girls so the boys who picked on her would stop, thinking that that would help.
That would work in the movies.
Yeah. And unfortunately, this is not that. And the girls turned on Megan, and the bullying was worse than before.
Also like the movies.
Yep. And so in eighth grade in 2006, her parents enrolled her in Immaculate Conception Catholic School in Dardenne Prairie. I- Honestly, at a certain point, that probably was a great. I mean, it depends on what the Catholic school was or who it was, and
Yeah.
social economic status and all that.
That's funny
But
that
probably
there's
good
an
get her out of the
Immaculate
environment.
Conception here locally. So that's
Oh
funny.
yeah, it's a very popular name for churches, etc.
It's a church and school.
It's like if you forgot that the conception was not immaculate, we're going to remind you on every other sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Megan opened up a MySpace account. Her mother initially objected, but then she said okay. And her mom monitored Megan's activities and even had the password to Megan's account. And to the point in which Megan had to have her mom log into MySpace for her,
Oh, geez.
which honestly, it sounds like a lot, but back then, and even now, to be honest with you, monitor that time, make sure
Heck
you know
yeah.
what your kid's doing, and it sounds overprotective, but this is exactly the reason why, right?
Yep.
In October of 2006, Megan was contacted by a 16-year-old named Josh Evans on MySpace. He showered her with attention, and Megan was flattered and attracted to him. He was cute. Megan's mom agreed that she could add him as a friend. I'm guessing he made it into her top 8 spaces, and they started talking to each other on the site. Over a period of time, Josh won Megan's trust and affection, and then he turned on her and didn't want to be friends because of the way she treated her friends, whatever that means.
Hmm.
On October 16th, 2006, Josh and others began to post bulletins on MySpace. I think they meant posts, but these posts called her fat and a slut. Just terrible, terrible things. So Megan gets home from school one day. Her mom signs into MySpace for Megan. Megan was understandably upset with the change in tone and the messages she received.
Yeah.
Josh said that Megan wasn't a nice person. Everything just made a 180, and her mom advised her to get off of the computer and just let it be. And she took, and she had to leave because she had to take Megan's sister to the orthodontist.
Hmm.
And Megan didn't comply, or she didn't do it. But now that doesn't mean that she's to blame. Obviously,
Oh,
this
God,
is just
no.
part of the story. She didn't do it. And I think like you and I have experienced this too. Maybe not personally, because I think you and I are good at just like backing out and just being like, you know what, f this.
Yep.
But there's this thought that if we can simply control the narrative, if we can respond, explain, etc., that it might be better.
Hmm.
And social media has given us this idea that communication's easy, posting is easy, contradicting or reducing the attack is easy. But the thing about it is that the people who bully online don't give a shit about anything. They certainly don't care about people's
Absolutely.
feelings.
Actually, they care in the fact they want the feelings to be hurt.
Correct. They get off on power. And when you respond, they feed off of it. And it's better to just back away and leave those people alone.
100%.
So her mom got home and her mom was mad that she didn't get off MySpace. And Megan argued back and said, "You're supposed to be my mom. You're supposed to be on my side." So they're having this back and forth, right? We've seen this depicted on insert here. Um, Megan, after resolving to stay online, received a message from Josh that said, quote, "Everybody in O'Fallon knows who you are. You are a bad person and everybody hates you. Have a shitty rest of your life. The world would be a better place without you." And Megan
Jesus.
said, "You're the kind of boy a girl would kill herself over." She ran upstairs and ran into her father. She told him what was going on and she went into her room. Her dad went downstairs. Tina talked with her dad about the cyberbullying that happened, Tina, her mom, and she made dinner. 20 minutes later, she froze and she ran up to Megan's room. And by that point, Megan had hanged herself with a belt in the bedroom closet. And despite attempts to revive, she was pronounced dead the next day on October 17th.
That's so awful.
Now, if you thought that was awful, it gets worse. 6 weeks later, a neighbor who was anonymous let the Meiers know that, quote, Josh Evans was not real, but was a fake persona and a fake account.
Not surprised at all.
Yeah, Josh Evans' account was created by one of Megan's former friend's mothers, who lived only 4 houses down from the Meiers family.
What the fuck?
Lori Drew is her name, and Lori Drew had told a neighborhood girl about the hoax, and the girl's mother, the anonymous person mentioned earlier, said that, quote, Lori laughed about it, adding that she would, quote, mess with Megan. Apparently, this account was created so that the person could monitor what Megan was saying about her own daughter, who was a former friend from the previous school.
Wow.
The Meiers were understandably pissed that it was an adult who deceived their daughter. And what's worse is that she knew that Megan was on medication for depression. She was emotionally unstable. She was worried about her weight, and she still fucking bullied her in this way. She
Probably
set
why
her
she
up
did it.
and then ripped the carpet out from under her. Now, the Meiers were keeping a foosball table in their garage actually as a favor to the neighbors in question. They decided to smash the shit out of it and put it on their lawn with a sign that read Merry Christmas,
Good.
which is a metal thing to do, and I think it's funny. I
Yeah.
totally understand why. Great job. Now, listen, those neighbors weren't a fans, and so they filed a police report and levied a lawsuit against them.
Wow.
Now, once things were reported, the FBI got involved because it's a cyber crime. This is kind of what happens. And the Meiers family were advised to avoid discussing the case with anybody, not media, not friends, not family, none of that, because that would impact their investigation. And they spent a year investigating this family without their knowledge.
Good.
The story was published in various media sources eventually around November 10th, 2007, over a year later. And at that point, they didn't disclose the name of the friend's mom. However, as armchair detectives are wont to do, there was a woman named Sarah Wells, who is a blogger from what state? Virginia. who
Ah,
determined that the news wasn't enough and the lack of a name wasn't enough. There are some good reasons why suspects' names are not released, and it's not a great move, especially by someone who is unprofessional and unable to control the firestorm that comes from that.
yeah, for sure.
I don't truly believe in an eye for an eye in real life, really. I mean, there's ways that this should have been handled, and while I don't agree with it, I'm just going to talk about it. Sarah Wells tracked down the police reports about the foosball table, and because the parties' names were in those police reports, she confirmed the name with someone in the neighborhood. And at that point, she identified publicly Lori Drew as the creator of the MySpace profile. She posted her name on her personal blog. Blue Merle is what it was called.
Hmm.
She also used the exact words that Josh said to Megan that prompted her suicide about her being a bad person and the world would be a better place without you. Like she dug in and posted
She got
all of this
into it.
stuff. And hate raged. And a massive campaign against the Drew family began. And from there, people started including Lori's husband's name, their address, their email addresses, cell phone numbers, their name and address of their business, and the names of their clients that had done business with them.
Oh, geez.
I don't I don't like what she did.
No, because
I
that's also getting into bullying, right?
Yes, right? Right? It's literally an eye for an eye. So on December 3rd, 2007, the prosecuting attorney of St. Charles County, Jack Bannis, said that Lori Drew's 18-year-old temporary employee, Ashley Grills, wrote most of the messages addressed to Meier, and that she also wrote the final message. Grills said that she wrote the final message to end the hoax and to get Meier to stop talking with the fake Josh Evans. So apparently, telling somebody that the world would be better without you is kind of the equivalent of ending conversation.
I guess so.
The most ridiculous thing about this, and I don't even remember if I put it in here, but Grills, this 18-year-old, was given a plea deal, sorry, she was given immunity to testify against Lori, despite the fact that Grills wrote most of the messages, including the last one.
Jeez.
I get that she was 18, but come on.
Yeah, really. Come on.
The prosecuting attorney said that he didn't interview Grills at the time because at the time she was under psychiatric treatment for her participation in the case, and he didn't plan to interview her at a later date, and people were pissed. Um,
Yeah, you should
the
be.
Myers the Myers said that Bannis didn't interview any party other than the Drews, and that he was solely relying on the testimony of the Drews, which is buck wild.
That is wild.
Now,
Yeah.
Bannis said that the FBI investigation also included an interview of Grills, and that established her role, so there was no reason to interview again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Myers said that they didn't and don't hold Grills responsible for their daughter's death. And Bannis said that Sarah Drew, 15 at the time, was attending a different school, and that Lori Drew was fearful of telling him where she lived. It was bad.
Mm-hmm.
After reviewing the case, though, Mike, county prosecutors decided not to file any criminal charges at all in relation to the hoax. But that's
What?
yeah, that state federal was not gonna have it.
Yeah,
Um,
good. What the
so
fuck?
Drew was charged with 1 count of conspiracy and 3 counts of unauthorized computer access for allegedly violating the MySpace terms of service by creating a fake profile. She was facing 5 years in prison for each charge maximum. Um, Prosecutors said the following. They said that Drew conspired to create the account with her then 13-year-old daughter and a then 18-year-old employee and friend of the family named Ashley Grills for the purpose of inflicting psychological harm on Megan. Meier had angered the Drews by calling Sarah Drew, her daughter, a lesbian. I don't know much about that. I don't know if that's true. This is just
Doesn't
what the
matter.
prosecutor said. It doesn't matter. You're correct. It does not matter. Closing arguments indicated that Meier's death could have been prevented. Now, the prosecution's case was weakened, though, when Ashley Grills, their own star witness, testified that she conceived of the idea to create the MySpace account and clicked to agreed to the terms of service, and that neither she nor the Drews saw or read the terms. Well, guess what?
Doesn't matter.
You signed it. I could sign a housing, like a mortgage contract, and I could not read it and not know that I have to pay every month, but I still fucking signed it. It's legal.
Yeah, exactly.
The judge said that Drew didn't have to illegally access MySpace personally, but that it was enough to have knowingly aided and abetted somebody else in obtaining illegal access to the service. So whether Grills opened it, wrote it, anything or not, the fact that she knowingly aided her, that is enough to
Yeah,
charge with what they
absolutely.
did. Um, Grills also said that it was Drew who encouraged her to create the profile. So again, Drew encouraged it. And after Grills said she was concerned that it was illegal, Drew said not to worry, that, quote, people do it all the time.
Wow.
Krause, the prosecutor, cited testimony from several witnesses who said Drew and her co conspirators planned to print out Meier's correspondence with Josh and confront her at school or at a mall to mock her for falling for a non existent boy. That's right. Lori Drew, the adult, was going to do this with children. The three, Grills, Drew, and her daughter, had an elaborate scheme to inflict maximum humility on a teenage girl by building her up only to tear her down. He cited the fact that the ruse lasted a month as evidence of the level of energy the conspirators put into it, and said it went beyond a mere prank or hoax.
What scumbags.
So,
Jesus Christ.
yeah. Lori Drew was indicted and convicted by a jury. She was found guilty of violations of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act in '08. That being said, on a post-trial verdict, her conviction was vacated. The judge said that the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act did not intend to criminalize the conduct of which Drew was accused, and the government decided not to appeal the post-trial ruling. So Drew's out.
I don't know even know what to say. What
I
the
don't
fuck?
either. So, in terms of reactions, right, kind of to close this out, a vigil was held for Meier on November 24th, 2007. The crowd gathered in a parking lot and walked past the homes of the Meiers and the Drews, and a piece of ground adjacent to the Drews house was the scene of remembrances by the friends of the Meiers. So, right, like catty corner to the Drews house, they had to look out
Yeah.
the window and look at this thing, which is
Good.
just powerful. This case has caused several jurisdictions to enact or consider legislation prohibiting harassment over the internet. Florissant, Missouri passed a cyber harassment law, with other folks considering following suit. The state of Missouri is revising its harassment laws in response, updating them to cover harassment through computers and mobile phone messaging. There was also new legislation that went into effect August 28th, 2008, that was to cover loopholes in the current law. And the new language says, quote, expands the definition of the crime of harassment to include knowingly intimidating or causing emotional distress anonymously, either by phone or electronically, or causing distress to a child. It also, quote, increases the penalty for harassment from a misdemeanor to a felony, carrying up to 4 years in prison if it's committed by an adult against someone 17 or younger, or if the criminal has previously been convicted of harassment. The above was directly in reaction to Lori Drew's case dismissal.
100%.
On May 22nd, 2008, Congresswoman Linda T. Sanchez introduced H.R. 6123 as the Megan Meier Cyberbullying Prevention Act to amend Title 18 of the U.S. Code with respect to cyberbullying. And this added the following. Cyberbullying is whoever transmits an in interstate or foreign commerce any communication with the intent to coerce, intimidate, harass, or cause substantial emotional distress to a person using electronic means to support severe, repeated, and hostile behavior shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 2 years or both. As used in this section, the term communication means electronic transmission between or among points specified by the user or of information of the user's choosing without change in the form or content of the information as sent and received. And the term electronic is any equipment dependent on electrical power to access an information service, including email, instant messaging, blogs, websites, telephones, and text messages. And finally, Tina Meier started the Megan Meier Foundation, which says on the website that it exists to promote awareness, education, and promote positive change to children, parents, and educators in response to the ongoing bullying and cyberbullying in our children's daily environment.
That sounds so much like what happened with Rena Verk's parents after she was killed. Yeah.
It blows my mind that somebody could get away with something like that. But if there's anything that came out of it, people actually took that dismissal seriously and said, you know what, fuck this, we're not going to let it happen again. And they started rolling out the laws to make sure. It should have never happened in the first place. I think Lori Drew should be behind bars.
Yeah.
And if, at the very least, Grills should have had some kind of level of probation or, some inability to access online. But, here we are, I guess. just sad for Megan and Megan's family because I mean, you and I have both been, had targets on our backs at one point and not fun. Just not
No,
fun as
not
a
at all.
grown ass adult. Not fun. I can't imagine being, a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 15-year-old
Yeah.
who has to live with that every single day. So if if you know anybody who's having a hard time, please encourage them to get help, either by, making a phone call or whatever that might be.
Yeah.
Don't let the bullies win. I know that's easier said than done, but they don't deserve that kind of power over you. So
No, they
break
don't.
free.
Yeah.
Break free.
Absolutely.
All right, that's it.
I feel good that the bullying talk is over now.
Yep. And
Yeah.
a nice preview for the next theme, hometown crimes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
get
I
ready.
exactly. I was really lucky growing up that I didn't really experience bullying. I was always kind of a bigger kid, so they were not
Uh,
willing to take a chance to bully me.
Fair enough. I was not at
Yes.
all, and I did experience it. I will tell this one story before we go, and I don't think I've told this story to anybody, but it was senior year, and it was within the high school at a retreat for retreat leaders. And yes, this was a Catholic high school. It was an overnight thing, and we were all in a classroom, and apparently at some point somebody decided to do what they call teabagging to me.
Oh, Jesus.
And I didn't know anything about it
Oh.
until a friend of mine said, I didn't know when to tell you and I didn't know what to say. And I'm sorry it took me so long to say something. And all I could, number one, humiliating, right?
Yeah,
Um,
100%. Yeah. It's so
Obviously, it's why I'm
gross.
bi today, right? It's obviously
I
why
don't
I'm
think that's
bi
how it
today.
works.
But like, no, it's not. But like, I like how I said that as if I had to confirm that it's not how it works.
Yeah.
But
Oh, fucking
it
hell.
was so interesting because all I could think of was, what does that really say about me? I don't think anything. I think it says more about the guy who was willing to pull his pants down and dip his stuff in my face. So,
Yeah.
but just I think even as a high schooler, knowing that in some way there was a violation of your personal space and who you are, just effed with my head. And people go through 10 times worse stuff now. But at that point, relative to the time, that was pretty rough. And that kid, man, that kid got away with it too.
Of course he
Despite
did.
despite the conversation that I had with the principal, just got away with it, man.
Yeah. That
I
actually
don't
kind of
know.
reminds me of it wasn't a bullying of me, but I remember I was in Cubs. I think it's still called Cubs and scouting in the States,
Yep.
isn't it? Yeah. So I
Hmm?
was in Cubs and there was this camp out for the last year of Cubs, you go and camp out with the scouts.
Yeah.
And it was a great camp at first, and then one of the scouts pulled a knife on a bunch of the Cubs.
Oh, what?
And I mean, like the first thing you fucking learn in Cubs is like how to use a knife
Don't
safely and
point it at
can't do
somebody.
it.
Like,
Exactly, yeah. So
oh my
I
gosh.
I was furious and I never moved on to scouts after that. Because it's
That's
like, why the fuck would
horrifying.
I want to spend time with those assholes?
You should
They're
you
gonna do
should
shit
look up
like
that
that.
guy. You should look up that guy's
Oh,
name and just see if he became like a serial killer.
if only I could remember. I never even knew
That's
his
fair.
name because he was just some random scout there. And yeah, I
It's
would I wish I had gone on, but I was like, why would I want to be part of people like that?
it's really funny that we're doing my case tonight on this because I just found all of my like third through seventh grade yearbooks.
Oh,
And
geez.
around seventh grade, right, middle school, around seventh grade, my last year in Japan, everybody, I put stars next to everybody I knew and how I knew them. And then the people that were bullies, I put a pitchfork and devil horns on. Um, in gel pen because gel pen was a thing.
Yeah, it sure was
And
popular.
But it's interesting to pull those yearbooks out and then go searching for those people on social media just to
Yeah.
see how they're doing. Um, Most of the time I'm pleasantly disappointed because they're doing really well and good for them. Uh, Hopefully it was seventh grade. We were all
I mean,
whatever
they
were
might even
seventh grade, but
apologize now if they remember, but
if
Might.
yeah, I mean, obviously the bullied is gonna remember more than the bully.
Oh,
Uh,
hell yeah.
but what are you gonna do, right? So, anyways, thanks everybody for tuning in.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in to Brew Crime. You can find us on all social media platforms at Brew Crime. We have a Facebook group at Brew Crime the Group. If you'd like to support the show, head to patreon.com/brewcrime now, especially not on the Apple app.
Yes.
And the money goes towards upgrading equipment and making the show that much better. You get one bonus episode a month, as well as early ad-free access to our episodes. So shout out to our Patreon supporters, True Crime Nana, Three Bears In, and the Faves of Our Lives. Bye!
Peace. Fuck them bullies.
Fuck damn bullies.
All cases on Brew Crime are written by Mike and JT or a writer we credit on the episode, and sources are put into our show notes for each episode. We always want to give credit to the people that research the cases we talk about. Check out our store at tpublic.com/stores/brew-crime-podcast, where you can purchase gear like t-shirts, phone cases, stickers, pillows, and all kinds of other cool stuff. Brew Crime's intro was created by Mike using Creative Commons Attribution licensed audio from purple-planet.com, soundbible.com, and freesoundeffects.com. Logo designed by Ben Greenberg. Thanks for listening to this episode of Brew Crime Podcast.